So, even before this movie came out, it took me on a bit of an emotional roller coaster, right? When I first saw the project was announced, I was interested. Found out the screener for it was happening the day I was leaving for vacation. Bummed out. Found out it was coming out sooner than I thought. Happy. Found out it was coming out in limited release. Not so happy. Found out one of those limited release areas was my area. Joyful again. And now that I have finally seen it, elated. Hey, what's going on, people? Welcome back to Small Couch Reviews. It's your boy Sam. Obviously, from that intro, you can tell I enjoyed this movie. Today, we are going to be talking about My Old Ass, directed by Megan Park, starring Maisie Stella and Aubrey Plaza. In it, Maisie Stella plays an 18-year-old named Elliot, who at the beginning of the movie does some mushrooms while on summer break with her friends. And while she's tripping out on these mushrooms, she somehow summons her older self 20 years in the future, played by Aubrey Plaza. So I'm gonna try to keep this short and sweet, just like this movie was. First things first, it clocked in at about an hour and a half, which I loved. I don't really have too many sours for it. Off jump, I am gonna say this movie's definitely not for everyone. It's more of I don't want to, it's slow. There's not a lot of excitement happening here. And it's not really a movie you're watching because you want to see the plot progress from plot point A, or, one plot point to the next and watch that type of pacing. This is a movie that's more like A Good Person, starring Morgan Freeman and Florence Pugh. Or even, the one that was Oscar nominated, Past Lives, the Korean film Past Lives. So it's more of a movie it's kind of like a snapshot of this person's life, and we're really just watching this time in their life, and there's not really a conflict or something for them to overcome. You're really just enjoying the time with them. So younger Elliot, Maisie Stella's character, she's 18, and we join her in her last summer before she goes off to college in Toronto. She grew up on a farm that farms for cranberries. Like, it's been passed down from generation to generation in her family. She has her mother, a father, and two brothers. So, when she meets Aubrey Plaza, her older self, at first she thinks that she's just straight up tripping, but then, Aubrey Plaza proves to her that she's really not. So, our younger Elliot, starts taking this seriously, and I love their kind of chemistry together. Now, they're not on screen together for a lot of this movie. They mostly communicate via text and phone call. But when they are on screen together, I like seeing them because it's I like to imagine that if I were to see my older self or even my younger self, I would behave like 18-year-old Maisie, basically. Hey, why don't you tell me what's a good thing to invest in? What are the lottery numbers going to be? Who's going to win the next Super Bowl? Like, these are the types of things I would ask, and I thought it was just pretty funny. But the movie is really about what the older Elliot, Aubrey Plaza, is there to warn younger Elliot about. And warn, it might be a strong word. It's not like she's trying to warn her of impending doom, even though she drops hints like, oh my gosh, you should enjoy this food. I don't know if you're going to have it in the future. But it's nothing like, there's no like major catastrophe or anything that she has to avoid. She's just basically saying, hey, you should enjoy this time because you're not going to get this time back. So maybe spend more time with your brothers, get to know their interests. Be nicer to mom, come home more often, stuff like that. And that's kind of why I said it reminds me of, oh my gosh, A Good Person and Past Lives. Because after it, I wasn't really thinking about like all the stuff that happened that I saw. I was really just thinking about how I felt. And I think that's what the point of this movie is. You're supposed to leave it feeling a certain way. Now, I think the main message this movie is trying to convey is time really, really is precious. And I think, like, definitely younger crowds probably wouldn't even want to go see this movie. I think it's more for people, like if you're, 18 and up, you'll probably appreciate it more. But I think it would really hit people who are like in that age between like 30 and 40, when you really are entering the prime of your adulthood and you realize that, stuff that you may have thought would last forever really isn't going to last forever, and stuff you may have taken for granted. You're starting to realize it now in your adulthood. So I think those are the people it's really going to hit. A great thing this movie made me think about and made me realize was, there's one of the few things you can't replace in this life is time. Time, once it's gone, you really can't get it back. So you should try to make the most of it while you have it. Now, I know it kind of sounds like this movie might be like a downer because of that, but it's not. It actually is pretty funny. Not laugh out loud funny. I wasn't belly laughing, but I was chuckling. I had a smile on my face. Maisie Stella is spectacular in this film. I think she's in every single frame of the movie, and she's really good in it. Just seeing her go through this time in her life, where she's so anxious to leave, but then listening to her older self, she's like, you know what, maybe I should spend time with my family. But even when she does it, she's not really seeing like the benefit to it. And it was very real. And what I mean by real is even like in our lives, like me, for example, I have aunts and uncles all the time who are like, oh, you spend more time with this family member or this family member. And while you're initially doing it, you may not really see the benefit of it. But as time goes on and you think back on it, you're like, man, I'm glad I really did that. And I just appreciated that this movie kind of took that route. Now, there aren't really any surprises. No big twists. I mean, there are a couple of reveals because Aubrey Plaza, her older self, is holding on to a bit of a secret till the end of the movie because she tells her something but doesn't really explain it till the end of the movie. But at the end of the day, like, again, it's really just about how the movie made me feel. And, I'm appreciative of it for that because it did make me feel and think like, hey, there are times even in my life that, I think I always have tomorrow or I have next week or I have next month or whatever. And, I keep pushing stuff off and off and off. And, it could be years before you haven't even done what you wanted to do with that person, So I think that it's a good lesson and it's a good thinker right there. You should really enjoy life today while you can with the people that you love. So I left the movie feeling pretty good, and I think that's how they really wanted it to go, especially with the way it ended. I admit I got my feels a little bit on this one, guys. But yeah, so yeah, My Old Ass. It's not really a thrilling, exciting piece of cinema, but I do think it's one that people, like I said, in that 30 to 40 range. If you watch it, I think you'll enjoy it more than most. But those are my thoughts. Let me know if you see it. Let me know what you think about it. Appreciate you guys. And until next time, I'm out.